And good afternoon. Welcome to Weather and Ag in Focus. I'm Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki, along with our Ag Director Bridgette Readel. We're having a little bit of technical difficulty with Bridgette. She's out at the field on live remote, so we'll get to her in just a minute. But hopefully Bridgette brought her umbrella because, well, there's a little bit of rain on radar, most of it to the south of where Bridgette's at. So I think she might escape okay. We'll wait and see. But there's more steadier showers out around the Fullerton area between Lemoore and Fullerton. Everything else is pretty darn light. It's all moving to the east-northeast towards the FM area, but it's weakening as it does move towards the valley. So we'll be keeping an eye on that. But if you're wondering what the rest of the week looks like, it looks pretty darn good as we head into tomorrow. In fact, tomorrow, definitely the pick day of the week. But we got to get through today. A little chilly today with temps kind of hanging in the 60s. And then tonight, we're going to drop off into the 40s. 47 degrees tonight. Now, the record is 43. So we're not going to be too far away from that. And then plenty of sunshine for Thursday, with highs in the mid-70s. We will see a warm front pushing into the area Thursday evening, and I think we're going to see some storms come in after dark with lows Thursday night into the 50s, and then on and off showers and a few thunder showers on Friday with highs only in the low 70s. But that is setting the stage for a nice weekend with highs between 80 and 85, and then more stormy conditions comes into the area Monday and Tuesday. Do we have Bridgette, James? All right. We're still working on Bridgette, so we'll get her here sooner or later. But you can log on to our website, WDAYradionow.com, and post an article on there about how much rain we're expecting over the next 10 to 14 days, as we are looking for some pretty widespread rain across much of the northern plains. And that is going to be good news for a lot because some areas over the last week have received some heavy rainfall. Northwest Minnesota being one of those target zones. Southern Lakes country, another one of those target areas. But the rest of us have pretty much missed out on any really widespread rain. And over the next 10 to 14 days across much North Dakota, Minnesota, South Dakota, we're looking at about an inch to some spots, 2 inches of rain. And that's widespread. So great news for some of the drier conditions that we've been experiencing here over the last week or so, at least for the majority of us. And then according to the LRC, as we head towards the end of the month, and it won't be long lasting, but as we head towards the end of the month, we are going to see a big heat ridge build into the area across much of the northern and especially central plains as well. We're going to be right on the northern end of that. And that means much, much hotter weather coming our way as we head into the end of the month. And like I said, it's not going to last very long. But if you remember, the stormy part of the LRC cycle is expected to come back around that very end of this month into about the first 7 to 10 days of August. That's when we're going to see at least the chance of increasing chances of severe weather. So something we'll keep a close eye on. And like I said, some much, much needed precip heading our way over the next 10 to 14 days. I see Bridgette, but do we have our audio?
You do.
All right, there we go. All right, welcome back, Bridgette.
I think we're okay. We're in the field, and actually, our connection out here is not too bad.
Good deal. And you've got a guest with you. And there goes her connection.
Peterson because what we can do is we can do audio. If you want us to do that, we can do that.
James, how about we take break right now? And then Bridgette, if you can call in, that's probably going to be the best option here because you keep breaking up there. So when we come back, we'll talk to Bridgette out in the field, see how our crop is doing out there. On video, it looks pretty darn good. So we'll have more on that coming up right after the break.
Oh, I think we've got everything working now, and that's our plan for today. So looking forward to having a chance to visit with everyone, customers, etc., and our guest today. So it's going to be a fun afternoon for us. I hope you all enjoy it. Are you picking up an echo on me, Dean?
Yeah, it's better now, though. It's better now.
Okay, you got it better?
Yep.
Excellent.
Yeah, all good. All good.
Okay. All right. So before we talk with our guest today, there's a couple of headline things I wanted to cover. One of them is the fact that when you look at where farm equipment is being made these days, a lot of people have questions and concerns because they look at what's happening around the U.S. and say, are we doing everything that's American made? Well, believe it or not, more of our equipment's being built in the States than you might think. So Claus hasn't always been a familiar name to many of us, but it really is good in the fact that with Claus, you have a significant amount of operations in the Midwest, Nebraska, for instance. They opened up their Lexion Combine campus in Omaha in about 1997. This year will mark the 10,000th Lexion Combine coming off their main production line. The Lexions were always under the Caterpillar name, and now they've moved on to the Claus livery, so they've that really awesome light green color. Claus was founded 100 years ago in a small farming town in Germany. Also, Claus has built a service academy here in the U.S. to train their technicians. And they have a similar situation in Canada. Keep skills up to date, make sure that there's proper certifications to work on the machines, and so much more. When you look at Claus's operation, they are looking to expand their partnerships for domestic material and component manufacturers. Now, Case New Holland, they are also doing more domestically than expected. They have about 70% of their components that are used in their industrial plants sourced from domestic suppliers, and 95% of their steel comes from U.S. mills. John Deere, we know there's a lot of John Deere equipment in the neighborhood. They are on a 10-year, $20 billion cash outlay plan to increase their U.S. production facilities. That's going to include 120,000 square foot expansion of the company's remanufacturing facility in Missouri, a construction of a new excavator factory in North Carolina, and they're going to expand a turf equipment factory in Tennessee. Now, new assembly lines for their 9RX high horsepower tractor production are taking place in Waterloo, Iowa. So more and more manufacturing does really happen here in the U.S. I know the headlines are made when things happen out of country, such as when John Deere was moving some production pieces out to Mexico. We've seen layoffs happen. Those happen all the time when the ag economy is cyclical, which it is right now. And those changes are probably not as big of a surprise as one might expect. So it's nice to be able to answer that question for listeners when they say, hey, are you guys doing more and more in country? Because yes, we are.
Good deal. Good deal. And yeah. And Bridgette, if anybody's out and about, first off, the wheat looks really good behind you on our video feed. It looks awesome. If anybody's kind of driving out and about and they want to stop and say hello, tell everybody exactly where you're at.
Driven by. So let me introduce our guest first. And with us today is Kelsey Pellman. She is with Peterson Farm Seed. And Peterson Farm Seed is actually our seed that's represented in the field today. So, Kelsey, what do you think about our wheat?
Honestly, for the weather we've had, I think it's beautiful. I think it's gorgeous. There was a little bit of a hail event that came through, and we were talking about that earlier. We were nervous about how much we might lose, but I think it's come through wonderfully. I think it looks great.
So I think it really helps. Our farmer, Jim Euland, has done a fabulous job of a good seeding rate out here. We had a pretty high population. And I was in this field after we had a June 27th, we had a hailstorm. Looking at it a few days later, it looked like we took some loss with hail. You and I are seeing less of that loss today, I thought.
I would agree. It definitely looks maybe a little bit thinner than a normal wheat field out here would look. But there's some phenomenal heads out there. There is a little bit of damage here and there, but not nearly as much as we expected. I think it's going to pull through wonderfully.
You know, also, I noticed there is some wheat stem softfly damage out here. So what's your background and knowledge on the soft fly? Do you know a whole lot about it, or any advice you can give farmers when you see that damage in the field?
I'm not super familiar because it's generally, it seems like in North Dakota, most of our extreme softfly pressure is like north central by extreme north. And a lot of that is heavy wheat on wheat, where we don't see as much of that out here. So when we do see the softfly out here, it might be a one-off thing. There might be a little bit of damage, but it's not like we're losing acres at a time. So most farmers, they're not going to need to worry about having like a solid stem wheat, which would be their best defense against wheat stem softfly. So most guys out here, I'm not too worried about it.
And I think that's probably the best thing for folks to know. It's not necessarily something that's going to be a huge yield robber, I should say, in this wheat field.
Yep.
So talking about that hail, what about, you and I talked a little bit about, should there have been a fungicide application? Would we have had as good of recovery by using a fungicide as we would get with corn or soybean? Mm-hmm. What do you think about that?
So with wheat, most of the time we'll see generally 2 fungicide applications. You might see one earlier on in the season that's mixed in with like an herbicide for the weed control, and that'll help you with some of your leaf diseases. And then generally the second application comes right at flowering, and that one is specifically targeting Fusarium head blight or scab. That's kind of the big one in farmers' minds. When it comes to after a hail event in the wheat, after hail, you're probably going to see some more disease pressure because you do have damage to the crop. However, a fungicide pass isn't necessarily going to protect us from those diseases. Just the nature of the diseases, they're infecting based on injury. So generally a fungicide right after a hailstorm, like you might want to do, like you said, corn or beans, generally that's not going to help us in wheat. So we'll stick to that right at flowering.
So with this field, would we have, do we have a little bit of leaf disease? Did you notice anything if we're talking about disease and fungicide right now? I thought maybe there was some down in the canopy.
There is a little bit, or if you look kind of like right behind us, there's a couple leaves that might have a little bit of like bacterial leaf streak, again, a bacterial disease. It's infecting on injury. There is a little bit of that, but it's not too bad out here.
You know, when I was in this field a few weeks ago, when we looked at this crop, I thought it was tillering really well. And you said that's not actually a characteristic of this particular variety for Peterson. Mm-hmm. And did you notice anything different? Do you feel like it tillered better than expected?
I think there maybe is a little bit extra tillering. So like one variety that we have called Buns, that one, it tillers up the wazoo. So that one, it looks like grass because it tillers so aggressively. This one is generally a little bit more open, but because we are seeing more, I wonder if Jim maybe has a little extra fertility out here, maybe trying to push his protein, push his yields a little bit, and the plant is probably trying to take advantage of that.
I laugh because there is an agronomist who just drove by and waved at us, so people are noticing us sitting on lawn chairs out in the field. This is. I would say when Michael pulled up, he's our videographer today, and he saw our pickups parked here. We were literally sitting in the field. We have a little table set up in front of us as well. It's like a tailgate in a wheat field today. So this is really kind of an ideal spot.
I still think for that travel. Hold up a sign and tell them to tune in.
Yeah, there was a gravel truck that went by. He was very surprised at this.
And I've got
Go ahead, Dean.
Okay.
Jump on in there.
Yeah, I've got a question for Chelsea. So you said that, considering the weather, the wheat looks, pretty darn good considering what we've had. What exactly do we need? I know heat is one, at least some, because it's been a little. Overall, we've actually had temperatures above normal. Spring so far into the early summer months here, but we've been behind on precip. What do we need exactly from Mother Nature to really kickstart our wheat?
To stop being so difficult.
So wheat is a little backwards compared to how we might think about corn and soybeans. Wheat is a cool season grass. So wheat actually likes this cool weather that we've got. Okay. And right now our heads are done flowering, so they're working on filling, they're working on packing as much energy into that grain as they can. So right now the cool weather is actually probably helping the wheat. If we can get a little rain right now, kind of pack on some extra punch, this will go a long ways into letting the wheat really bolster up those kernels and fill out nicely.
So there's always a time and a place in the field where we want a little more stress on our wheat. And I don't think we have that this year because, frankly, we haven't had super hot temperatures. And I want you to answer that. But then, Dean, just the other day we had a guest who said, oh, it's been a hot summer. And I think we can refute that. So I'm going to have Kelsey answer that first.
So with going to a little bit of the stress in the wheat, as long as it has water, that's the big thing. If it starts getting dry and hot, then it's going to start to go backwards. I'm a Western kid, so I'm always thinking like, hey, if I can get a little cool stretch in there in the fill, that's saving me water. I'm happy. But yeah, then like you were saying on people commenting on, oh, we've had such a hot summer. It really has been a summer of highs and lows. We go from a fairly warm, hot stretch down to these cool stretches like we've got now. And I think it'll be really interesting to see what that does to our crop as far as limiting or having those pockets of stress. And I think it's going to come down to what stage the crop is in when that stress occurs.
And one of those stress points, and we were talking about this earlier. I don't know if you guys caught it, but according to the LRC, we're going to see a pretty nice little heat ridge build in here at the end of the month. About a 3 to 4 day stretch of some really hot weather, followed by a potentially very active pattern. And by active, I'm talking, unfortunately, severe weather coming in here that first week to 10 days in August, it looks like. So we're going to get the heat, but it hasn't no more than 3 or 4 days before we kind of cool things right back down again.
Okay, when you say an active pattern, I got a couple things that come to mind. I mean, I can live with an active pattern. I don't need tremendously high winds that are lodging the wheat. We got really nice full heads of kernels on these wheat. I mean, we'll be able to look at some heads here in the field today. We're going to do a video about it. I don't want it laying down. Also, that active pattern, when we get towards harvest, and Kelsey and I will maybe estimate what we think harvest is going to look like as far as a date out here. I don't need 5 days of rainfall during harvest because that will wreck our quality in such a fast way. So you can give me an active pattern, Dean. I just don't need a lot of high wind, and I don't need an extended amount of heavy rainfall that keeps us out of the field. That's my greatest concern when we're taking wheat, because Kelsey and I talked about this when we first got to the field. This wheat crop looks better than a whole lot of corn and soybeans in the area, to be honest. And you had a little bit of some notes to say about what the wheat crop looks like further west.
Big. There is some really nice looking wheat crops out there where I think absolutely what you're saying, that's going to be the best crop out there is going to be the wheat. Whether it be you're looking at canola, you're looking at corn and beans, whatever the crop, I think the wheat is going to be some of the best stuff out there. But then you start pushing north, you start getting north of Highway 200 and a little bit further west. And even on this side of Minot yet, there's some really dry ground out there, and those guys are struggling. They're hurting for a rain.
And I love raising wheat, so I'm always going to talk good things about wheat. Every corn and soybean guy in the region just rolled their eyes at me, but I love wheat. All right, but I also like the fact that we're going to pick up a little bit of news right now. We're going to do that for the bottom of the hour. When we come back, we're going to continue to talk in the field. It's not very often that literally the studio's in the field today, and it's sort of fun. We even got the wind to keep us cool. So we'll talk more when we return. Well, if you haven't heard the message, you're going to want to make sure that you are taking care of your technology as quickly as you can. We want it to run as smoothly as this crop's going to run through a combine. So check out techsupportfarm.com. You want to talk to Chris Sherman, making sure that you are well protected as you are getting your needs taken care of, whether it's through banking, insurance, your farm records, also the things that happen in your tractors, any endpoints that you have that could be a security concern. Today I'm in our Here We Grow field. I'm out here with Kelsey Pellman. Kelsey is with Peterson Farm Seed, who's one of our sponsors. So is Gowan USA. And thanks to Gowan for the work that they have done in making sure that we have access to fungicides like Domark and Affiance, and also to Badge SC. So thanks to the folks at Gowan. Check them out at gowanusa.com. And Red River Retention Authority. This is not a field that's overly wet right now. But in a year that it could be, Red River Retention Authority is there for us and so many other farmers, making sure that we keep water in the right places to maximize our yields. So that's one of the things to if it was a wet year, how different would this field look, do you think? Any estimates?
I think our wheat would be a little bit taller. It's got a nice balanced height on it right now. A little bit more moisture might put some more height on it. I think our disease pressure would definitely be higher, especially our leaf diseases. In a wet year, a lot of times we see that. And then our heads, honestly, our field looks really nice, but there might just be a few extra kernels in some of those spikelets.
And extra kernels lead to more yield. Okay, that's my reminder to tell everybody that we want to hear the listeners' guesses for what we think our yield is going to be. We're curious what you think our field is going to turn out to be in your estimation. Some folks have driven by and taken a look at it by sending your guesses to me, and you can do that ag@flagfamily.com. You can put them on our Facebook page in the comments. I'll collect them there. And by doing that, you have the opportunity to win one of our National Weather Service approved rain gauges from Darter Plastics. We are also giving away a $100 gas gift card. If you drive by the field, and again, if you're looking for directions to find it, you can ask me, but the easiest way is just know that it's in northwestern Cass County. It's a mile south of the junction of County 11 and County 34. And you can use the QR code that's on the sign, and you can be registered not only for a rain gauge, but a $100 gas gift card. So there's some incentives to go out and take a look at wheat. One of my favorites, right? I've been mentioning it's my favorite. Now, Kelsey, what do you estimate? Did you look at what our county average is, et cetera, and what you might think on wheat here?
Find the county average quite fast enough, but I've kind of got a number in my head. I don't want to get too specific, but I think we've still got some 55, 60 bushel potential out here. And I've heard there's maybe been a few lower guesses. If anybody comes out here and look, I would definitely recommend come off the headlands. Right in front of us, we've got kind of some compaction where it doesn't look as nice. They get off that headlands and walk out here a little ways. Take a look at it. 'Cause once you get out there, it's a very nice looking crop.
Do you want to make a guess?
I'm going to go 57.
Okay, so you're in at 57.
I'm going to go 57.
Well, all right. Okay, I'm getting text messages from people as we speak, sending us their guesses. But for me, I am probably going to put my guess a little bit higher. I'm going to be the optimist in this bunch. I'm thinking we might get to about 62 bushel on this field. It looks really nice. And for you as Peterson Farm Seed who wants to seed back commercially, you probably wouldn't be so disappointed in 62, would you?
All day.
That again, pick up right.
I would be perfectly fine with it running 80 bushel all day. I would take that.
Do you have a specific protein that you want to target on this field too?
Given that this is seed production, so we're looking for the seed itself, as long as it's good quality, healthy kernels, that's all I care. The protein is important to Jim if he would have to haul it to the elevator. But for seed production, I don't really care too much about protein.
All right, so we got a yield. We're estimating what we think it's going to be. Now, as we look at this field, and we walked in here earlier, I saw some areas in the field that look like they're starting to turn color. I'm going to ask Kelsey to give that definition to everybody. What does it mean when I say our field is starting to turn color? When do you think we're going to be harvesting?
So wheat always gets me. It's always been this way ever since I've been a kid. I go by a field and I see it starting to turn and I get super excited. Oh, Dad, you have the combines ready? Are we going to be ready to roll here soon? And he goes, slow down. It's going to take longer than you think. So I always got to remind myself it's going to take longer than I think. So right now we were out playing a little bit, looking at some kernels. We're kind of in between that milky and dough stage. So it's going to be a few weeks yet, but once it turns, if we have some heat, that'll push it along.
So I have long held that it's somewhere around the beginning of August that we're going to be in this field combine. So that way Dean can mark his calendar, doesn't have to worry about vacationing, et cetera. Can you make that work so you can be out here for combining, Dean? I'm sure Jim's going to need you some assistance, maybe in the grain cart.
As long as it's after August 5th. then not a problem.
That might be close. That might be close.
And unfortunately, remember I said, according to the LRC, that active part of the LRC cycle is going to be those first 10 days in August. So let's say that, okay, we see some very active weather with wind and hail coming in here, let's say between the 6th and the 10th. Would it be wise to harvest, maybe a few days earlier or a week earlier, or is that going to significantly cut down on our bushels?
So at that time, I don't know if it's going to be ready yet. And then the other part of that, you don't want to take it too early, because if it's wet and you throw it in a bin,
Right.
that's going to cause some problems. That'll lead to some problems. We don't want that. But wheat is a trickier one that unless you spray it down, which most people out here don't spray it down, and Jim shouldn't because this is seed production. But unless they spray it to help it dry out faster, they're not going to be able to cut it early, which is the really sucky part about that late season weather.
Yeah, with wheat, it's not like you, and really any crop, it's not like you get to say, I know it's ready, but I just want to wait a few days. That crop doesn't hold. We could really start to lose quality out here. And quality matters because it can affect your yield. If we were worried about color, if we are worried about it sprouting in the field, meaning that literally those kernels on the top of the plant start to regrow because of too much moisture, all of that could affect us. And when you have wet stems, the wet straw, that doesn't go through a combine very well, and that really slows us down in combining too. So those are a couple of things that come in mind.
And like you said, with the quality, that matters not only for somebody hauling into an elevator, but when you start to get that washed out, bleached out grain in the field, that does affect our seed quality too, because it's affecting the health of that kernel. It's affecting that health of that basically baby plant. So yeah, it's weather events. It's something we can't control, and unfortunately around harvest time there's not a lot we can do about it.
So Dean, we're going to need a specific number of days that we're going to narrow down for combining that you're going to have to make sure are really perfect, just so we can not only get out into the field to get them done, and then we're going to need to shoot video. I mean, like any other farmer, it's not like I ask for everything, but I just want it my way.
And Bridgette,
One of my favorite things I used to hear from the old timers was, even if we could control the weather, we'd still mess it up. So we might as well just pray and do what we can.
And Bridgette, how long? So you're talking a stretch of days. How many days is it going to take to harvest our wheat?
So this is not a huge field, right? We're looking at a quarter section here, and frankly, if the weather conditions were good and it wasn't muddy, we could have this thing combined in a day.
Okay.
But that means that the moisture's got to be right on the field. We can't have it muddy, those types of things. So yeah, it's got to be perfect, but we don't need it perfect for very long.
Gotcha. Not a problem. I'm sure we'll figure something out.
I'm sure we will. Well, we've had a great conversation with Kelsey today. Thanks for all of this. It occurred to me every time I've done a show from the field, I'm like, well, I've never had any problems. That was pre-derecho, you guys. I bet there's a cell tower around here that had a little damage that's caused us some heartache today. But here we are. We made it work. So I know Dean's got Wednesday weather trivia coming up pretty soon. So we're going to want to make sure to get ready for that, right?
We do. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll have our Wednesday weather trivia and if you can get this right, you'll win one of our Darter Plastic official rain gauges. And again, you can't have won anything from us over the last 30 days. So we've got a list of that downstairs. We've had that problem in the past where everybody's trying to win it, and we get a few lucky people that continue to win. So we want to give everybody a chance. That's why we've got that. So again, we'll have our Wednesday weather trivia when we come back. And welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus on this Wednesday, July 16, 1:50 in the afternoon. Temperatures out there in the 60s. A little bit of light rain shower activity on radar. Most of that to the south of the 94 corridor. And speaking of rain, and let's see if you know today's Wednesday weather trivia. There's a certain smell that accompanies a newly fallen rain after a period of warm, dry weather. What is the name of that smell?
Good.
And if you've ever been in the deserts of Arizona and in monsoon season, when that first rain falls, oh, the smell is just unbelievable. It's that real rich, earthy smell. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. So what is the name of that? What do we call that? 701-293-9000 for a chance to win our Darter Plastic Rain Gauge. Caller on line 1. What's your name?
Dwayne.
Dwayne, what's your guess?
Ozone.
No, that is not. Sorry, Dwayne. Again. So that pleasant smell, some call it pleasant, some don't like it, but it's a very earthy smell, and you really notice it in the desert Southwest after a freshly fallen rain over a period of pretty hot weather, hot, dry weather. But we get that up here, too. What's the name of that smell? There's a specific name for it. And let's go to line 1 here. Caller, what's your name?
Diana.
Diana, what's your guess?
Well, I'm going to think it's called petrichor.
You are correct. You are. Now, did you have to Google that or did you know it? That's a tough one.
I did Google it, but I wasn't sure if it was the geosmin or the petrichor.
Gotcha. Okay.
The compound of geosmin is what makes the petrichor.
Gotcha.
So it wasn't.
Okay.
I didn't know the difference.
No. That's great. Great guess. Great answer. And we're going to put you on hold here. And our producer, Addison, will get all your information. And you can swing by the station and pick up your rain gauge.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
All righty.
Do you think I'll be able to get that on a jar at Bed Bath & Beyond or Bath & Body Works sometime soon?
Yeah.
Maybe that's the scent I'm missing for my house.
Oh, man. Have you ever smelled it have you ever been down to the desert Southwest during monsoon season and been able to smell that, Bridgette?
I've been to the desert Southwest, which I try to avoid the Arizona area because there's like a lot of people there. And I'm doing the show in a wheat field with only like 1 or 2 other people today. So I don't want an overpopulated crowd around me at all times. Although there's a lot of heads here. Yeah, I got a rim shot laugh from Kelsey sitting next to me with Peterson Farm Seed.
Oh, man. So, well, let's run down the forecast real quick. Again, a few showers on radar. Mainly south of the 94 corridor. We might see a sprinkle or two here in the FM area, but as we get towards evening, we're going to see more and more breaks in the clouds, a little more sunshine, and then we'll clear things out overnight tonight. It's going to be a chilly one, 47 for a low with light winds, and then plenty of sunshine for your Thursday. We'll see a few clouds come in as we head towards sunset. As a warm front lifts north, we'll see showers and storms develop along that right around sunset and especially afterwards. But highs tomorrow, 76, not bad. And then showers and thunder showers Thursday night into Friday. A little cooler on Friday with highs in the low 70s. And then temperatures in the upper 70s to low to mid 80s over the weekend. So not bad weather. And rainfall from the Thursday night, Friday event looks to be about a quarter inch to some spots, maybe as much as 3/4 of an inch. We'll see how that pans out. But this weather this time has been brought to you by Progressive Ag Risk Management Specialists. So with some much needed moisture on the way, Bridgette, in a couple of rounds, one tomorrow night, Friday, and then another one early next week, Monday night into Tuesday.
Okay, I have to laugh because there's been more traffic on this road than I estimated today. Everybody driving by is waving. So, well, you know what? At least people know where our Here We Grow wheat field is this year, Dean. Everybody can see it every time they drive by at high speeds.
Good deal. Good deal.
It's been a lot of fun out here. You know, one thing that we also haven't even talked about is with this field, after we take the wheat off, you're always left with the straw that comes from the stem of the plant. It's not what we're going to be keeping as part of the seed head, right? Seed head's what we want to collect. But that straw can be used as bedding for livestock. And because we talked earlier with Kelsey about the fact that, this year in some places it's a little drier than anticipated. So some of those forages, and not necessarily the wheat, but hay crops, et cetera, can have higher nitrate levels. When you have dry conditions, those nitrates ramp up in the plants, and nitrates at a high level can be toxic to cattle. Keep in mind one of the ways to figure out if that's going to be a concern for you. You can send a forage sample in to have it diagnosed. You can send it into a lab, have them analyze it to say whether or not there's a concern for toxicity. If you think there is, if you've had those drier conditions but you want to use some of that feed stuff, you can blend it off reasonably so in a ration to your cattle. You're going to want to blend it with corn or something else so that they're not getting the potential full dose, if you will. But that's something to keep in mind this year, as we have had areas that are a little bit drier. Now, I'm not putting us in a drought discussion. When you look at the drought monitor across the state of North Dakota, you have some abnormally dry areas. But again, I want to remind folks that when we talk about our weather, and especially abnormally dry, we're only looking at it on about a 25 to 30-year average, and that really only entailed the tail end of the really wet 1990s cycle. When we look at the late 80s, when it was super dry, we had much greater concerns.
Yeah. And Bridgette, we've got Al on line one. Al's got a question about our wheat crop, I believe. Al, go ahead.
Talking about your wheat straw, we actually haul the wheat board out of Masonite, Wahpeton. They take the wheat straw, and put glue in there and make plywood out of it.
Yeah, Al's exactly right. Yeah, Chucker Al, thank you for that, because you're right. We do have some places in the area that will take in that straw and they make a plywood out of it, and it's been used as durable as anything that's made with a wood product as well. I forgot about the Wahpeton plant, so thank you.
Yep, I'm on my way to Wahpeton right now. Getting a load.
Good deal. Hey,
there's more things that come out of this state agriculturally than anyone might be thinking of.
Thanks.
Have a good day.
Thanks, Al.
Yeah,
drive safe, buddy.
Yeah, all right, don't forget that North Dakota Department of Ag has Project Safe Send going on this week and into next. If you are one of our listeners in the western part of the state, you have the opportunity to take your unused and unwanted pesticides and drop off at a local DOT location. Those spots are going to be open from 8 in the morning until noon. This week, today you were at Killdeer, tomorrow will be at Dickinson, and Friday will be in Beulah. So if you have not yet had a chance to get rid of those older things that you don't need around, not paint, not antifreezes, but unwanted pesticides, you can do that with North Dakota Project Safe Send.
All right. Well, I want to thank everybody for joining us. For Bridgette and myself, be sure to tune in tomorrow. We won't be out in the field tomorrow, so you won't be able to drive by and say hello. But don't go anywhere. The Jay Thomas Show, that's coming up next.